Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing my build of the Estes Optima Pro, and it is time to do some work with epoxy. Yes, we are going to put the motor mount into the body, and actually before we do that, I'm going to put some epoxy reinforcement fillets on this thing in a couple of strategic locations. So it's going to go in like this, right? And we've already test fit to make sure that the fins fit carefully in there. The other thing we need to test fit is that the whole thing fits in smoothly inside the tube. Now, I've already sanded the rings, the outside of them, a little bit because I did test fit it and it did not go very well. So I also sanded the inside of the ring here a little bit. As a reminder, the green end goes up. So there we go. And this fits. Now, because I've tried this a couple times, the tube is getting a little chewed up. So I'm just going to sand it quickly. Not necessarily to smooth it out necessarily, but to kind of reshape the parts that are misshapen. So there we go. All right. So anyway, because of the way this is going to fit, I want to put a little bit of epoxy reinforcement on the top of this part, and I'm going to put some around here, and I guess I might as well put some around the top part of this too, and that ought to provide a decent amount of extra strength. Now I'm not going to put any here or here because the fin needs to fit in there, and although it is kind of, the edges here are cornered off to allow for a fillet, I don't want to take any chances with that. And I'm also not going to put any on the outside here. Well, that one I might actually put some on the outside. The reason is that the engine retention system is going to go here, which is here. And if you look, there's some space for me to work with. So I guess I will put a little bit of epoxy around that as well. Alright, so it is actually time for the epoxy now. I think I'm going to go with 2 gloves today because I don't entirely know what I'm going to need to do at the end of this process. I suspect I might need to smooth something out. Anyway, always a good idea to wear gloves when you are working with epoxy, just in case. You do not want to find out the hard way that you are intolerant of it. So there we go. Alright, all this other stuff, I'm just going to move it out of the way for the time being. There we go. And I need to whip up a batch of this stuff. So it's binary, so it's got 2 components to it. You probably should actually measure this out, but I'm going to eyeball it. And I'm going to kind of estimate how much I actually need. By the way, you should also do this in a pretty well ventilated space. There's a lot of airflow in this room, so that's great. That's probably good enough, a little more. But as soon as I'm done with this, the cup that I'm using, the gloves that I'm wearing, and the rocket itself, they're going to go away. I'm going to, well, I'm obviously going to throw the cup out, but it's going to go straight in the dumpster, along with the gloves and the rocket. Well, that's going to go. It's a cold day out today, so it's going to go in the garage rather than just outside, but it's also kind of windy, so that's probably not a great plan. So it's going to go in the garage. Just not in a place where the air is going to be circulating. Alright, I'm using 5-minute epoxy. That means the clock's ticking. I've got 5 minutes to get all this work done. So I'm going to start, put some of the stuff in the seam here. Hopefully I made enough. It might not be. I'm just going to kind of brush it in there. You could, since I am donning gloves, you could use your finger to smooth this out, but only if you are wearing gloves. Okay. And actually, let's leave it upright like this because I need to do this side here. And I'm using the stick here, my bit of balsa. Oops. That's why we wear a glove. I just stuck my fingers right in the stuff I'd already done. I guess I might as well smooth that out again. Maybe I'll use the glove, smooth it out. There was a little bit that crept up the side. That was the problem there. Alright. Just using the engine mount like kind of a pottery wheel, I don't know, a turntable, there we go, to kind of spin things in place. I'm more moving that than I am moving the stick, or at least I'm trying to anyway. Okay. There we go. Alright, and then the top bit here. Hopefully this is enough, like I said. It's going to be a little on the close side, but I can always make a little more if I need to. It's definitely one of those where you're probably better off trying to make too much than too little. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to put that aside for a moment. I need to put epoxy in 3 separate places. Now the instructions actually give you measurements, which is kind of nice. You need to put it at 1/2 inch, 3.5 inches, and 7 3/4 inches. Now the first 2 are easy. It's just, you know, above and below the slot. The top part, 7.5, that's harder to measure. It turns out, I measured this stick, and it turns out that it is just about 8 inches long. So I'm going to put the stick pretty much the whole way into this and then just brush. I'll load up as much as I can, try not to dribble. I'm going to do the far bits first. And again, you're probably better off going too short than too long here, because you're going to push the motor mount through the glue, through the epoxy as you go. So if it's a little too short, it's going to get pushed to where it needs to be. Really don't want to dribble all over my table mat either. So be careful with that. This actually looks like it should be just about the right amount. All right, I'm doing the near layer right at the top of the cut. It's always important. Oops. No. Kind of clunked the tube there. That's alright, I needed to put epoxy there anyway. Alright, and then the last bit just below the cut part. Oh, nuts, I dribbled. That's not great. I need to clean that up before I get a permanent wad of goop stuck to my mat. I have a paper towel out somewhere. This is the last trace quantities of my epoxy, so that's perfect. It is starting to get a little sticky too. Alright, this is going to go over and petrify probably. Here's my paper towel. Wipe that up as best as I can. This paper towel is now something else that needs to go, oops, in the garbage. That's fine. You can go in with that. And now it's time to put the motor mount in. Remember, the green is going up toward the nose cone. In it goes. And I'm going to just force it down like that. Ooh, shoot. I have a little bit of glue on the outside of the epoxy, right on the outside. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but it did. Alright, that's fine. Alright, and then I need to have this flush with the tube, so I'm just going to turn it upside down and push. Easy enough. Now it's flush. Looking through, I shouldn't be able to see much, if any, of the motor mount. There's a little bit sticking out the bottom. That's probably okay. This is a good time to test fit to make sure I don't need to adjust anything. So does it fit? Not quite. There we go. Just had it going in the wrong way. Alright, I didn't get any epoxy on that, so that's great. Alright, this thing stinks. Everything else in here stinks. Ew, I just adjusted it again. Hold on. Yeah, I ended up kind of bumping it a little bit, and that's fine. Alright, it looks fine. This is great. This needs to go someplace where it doesn't matter if it smells bad. This needs to be evacuated like straight to the trash can. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.